All right, let's talk about something that could seriously change the way we think about software. I mean, forever. It's called container streaming. And yeah, it's promising to make all those annoying installations and updates just a thing of the past.
So let me just ask you this. What if you never had to install software again? Like ever? Just think about that for a second. No more downloads, no more installation bars, no more update notifications. A world where it works on my machine is no longer a thing, and you never have to wonder if your computer is good enough for the latest app. That's exactly the promise we're driving into today.
So what's the magic behind this? Well, it's a concept called container streaming. And really, it's pretty simple when you break it down. It's a way to take basically any application, I'm talking everything from a simple browser to a super complex coding environment, and deliver it as a live stream, right from the cloud, straight to your web browser. And the key part? Absolutely nothing gets installed on your machine.
You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think about Netflix. It's just like streaming a movie, right? You don't download the whole thing anymore, you just hit play and it works. Well, container streaming does that exact same thing, but for software. Instead of installing an app, you just pop open a browser tab and bam, you're using it instantly.
All right, so I know what you're thinking. How does this all work? Let's take a quick look under the hood.
So it all comes down to this really simple, super fast loop. Okay, so first, your every click and keystroke, they get sent from your browser up to a powerful server in the cloud. Then, up in the cloud, all those actions are processed inside a totally secure, isolated container that's running the app. And finally, the result, what you actually see on screen, is streamed right back to your browser. And we're talking real time, like instantly. Now, you totally don't need to be an expert on the tech behind this, but it's cool to know what makes it tick. It uses things like Kubernetes to manage tons of users at once without breaking a sweat. For the streaming itself, it uses WebRTC. That's the same tech that powers video calls, which is why it feels so instant. And for the really heavy-duty stuff, it uses virtual GPUs to handle even the most demanding graphics-intensive apps. It's a pretty powerful stack.
Okay, so that's the how, but what about the why? I mean, where's this stuff actually being used? Let's jump into some of the really cool, practical use cases.
And wow, when you look at the applications, they are all over the map. I mean, it's being used for so many different things. We're talking everything from ultra-secure web browsing to full-blown developer workspaces to education and training, and even for something as niche as giving people safe access to old, clunky legacy software. It's super versatile. But the number one use case by far is secure browsing. And this is a game changer. Just picture this. You click on a sketchy link, right? But instead of it opening on your computer, it opens in a disposable container way up in the cloud. If there's a virus or some malware on that page, who cares? It's trapped up there. You just close the browser tab and poof, the container and the threat are gone forever. It's like putting a firewall between your device and the entire internet.
Now, for any software developers out there, you're going to love this. This technology is a huge problem solver. It completely kills that classic excuse, well, it works on my machine. Because now a new person joins the team, and instead of spending days setting up their computer, they just open a browser tab, and boom, they have a fully configured, 100% identical development environment ready to go in seconds. It's a massive time saver.
So who's actually building this stuff? Let's pivot and take a look at some of the major companies and projects that are really pushing this whole container streaming idea forward. When you look at the market, there are a few key players to know about. You've got self-hosted options like Kasm Workspaces. These are great if you want maximum control and don't mind managing the infrastructure. Then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have managed cloud services like Send.win, which are all about zero setup and simplicity. And then, you've also got open source projects like Apache Guacamole, which is more of a gateway for connecting to systems you already own. The takeaway here is that there's pretty much a solution for whatever you're trying to do.
Okay, so this is the really crucial part. How does this new way of doing things actually stack up against, well, the way we've been doing it for decades? Let's put it head-to-head with the traditional methods.
First, let's compare it to just installing software on your computer. Honestly, the difference is night and day. Your setup time plummets from hours, maybe even days, down to just a few seconds. From a security standpoint, it's a massive leap forward because every app is in its own isolated bubble. It's not sharing anything with your main operating system. And maybe the best part, any app instantly becomes cross-platform. If you've got a web browser, you can run it, period. All right, but what about remote desktop? RDP or VNC, we've all used that at some point. Well, container streaming is just way more efficient.
Think about it. Instead of spinning up an entire virtual machine with a full operating system for every single user, you're just running the one application in a tiny, lightweight container. This makes it so much easier to scale, and like we talked about, that WebRTC protocol makes the performance and latency way, way better.
And speaking of performance, just look at this number, 20 to 50 milliseconds. That's the kind of latency we're talking about here, with a decent internet connection. To put that in perspective, for most things you do, that is so fast it feels completely native. It feels like the app is running right there on your own machine.
Okay, let's wrap this up and boil it all down to the 3 big takeaways. Number 1 is security through isolation. The bad stuff stays in the cloud, never on your device. Number 2 is access from anywhere. If you have a web browser, you're good to go, on any device. And number 3 is just pure simplicity. We're talking zero installation, zero updates, zero upkeep. It just works.
And all of this brings us to one final pretty big question. As this technology gets better and better, are we actually heading towards a future where the most powerful software we use isn't on our devices at all, but instead it just lives inside a browser tab? It's a pretty wild idea, and definitely something to think about.